Next, we're going to talk about short-term notes payable. A short-term note payable, it would be a note that you gave to a bank in exchange for a loan. And specifically, short-term would be a note that is payable within either 12 months or by the operating cycle, whichever is longer. So if the operating cycle is 15 months, then a short-term note payable could be 15 months. But most of the time, it's going to be 12 months. The note is made up of several parts. The note is going to show what the face value is. It's going to show the interest rate. And a note is also going to say how long you have to pay it back. You know, it's a 30-day note, a 60-day note, a 6-month note, etc. I'm going to give an example now of a $2,000 note. And it's a 60-day note, 12% interest. So let's do two things. Number one, let's calculate how much interest you're going to have to pay on this note in 60 days. Okay? We did this before, and the way I usually do it is this. I take 2,000, put that in my calculator, then I multiply that by 0.12 for 12% interest. Okay, that gives me 240. I then divide 240 by 360 to give me the daily amount of interest, which is 0.666666, etc. And then I multiply that by 60 days. Gives me $40. So that times 60 equals $40. That's how you find out how much interest is going to be owed at the end of the note. Again, if a question asks you what is the total amount that has to be paid, then that's going to be the 40 plus the $2,000. So it would look like $2,040 if it asks you the total amount. If it just asks you the interest that's going to need to be paid, it's just going to be the 40. Okay, now here's another variation of this question. Let's say that the note that you gave to the bank was given on December 16th. And it is now December 31st. And you need to close the books for the period. Even though this note isn't due until the next year, you're going to need to make an adjusting entry. Specifically, it's called an end-of-period interest adjustment. Why? Because of the accrual principle. Because the expense for the interest has been accruing since December 16th to December 31st. Even though you're not paying out anything, you still have to account for that expense. So December 31st, take 31, and then subtract 16, that gives you 15 days. So going back to the calculation over here, all we need to do is just put in 15, and that gets us 10. So $10 is the amount that's going to be accrued for interest. And then I'll show you what the journal entry looks like for that. So you'll see the December 31st journal entry where we debit interest expense and we credit interest payable. So we have increased our liability account with a credit, and then once we pay off that interest, we will decrease that same liability account with a debit.